My name is Kareem Al-Hadid. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in childhood language disorders, based in Beirut, Lebanon. For over 12 years, I've worked with children who don't speak, who speak wrong, or who speak in ways no adult has ever understood. But never have I met children who spoke in non-existent dates. And when I say non-existent, I'm not being poetic. I mean sentences like, she died on the 32nd of September. I was born on the 14th of the 14th. The bus came from the 0th of the 0th. Don't stand in that hallway because today is the 29th of February in a year that wasn't leap. It began with a trembling phone call from Al-Qaraya Care Facility, an orphanage near the anti-Lebanon mountains, close to the Syrian border. The woman on the line said, "We have a group of 7 children. They won't talk to anyone but themselves, and when they speak, they only use dates." Dates? Yes, but all of them don't exist. What do you mean? One of them said he was abandoned on the 13th of the 13th. I'm not superstitious. I work with children on the spectrum, trauma victims, language disorders. But something in her voice made me leave the office that very afternoon. Al-Qaraya was an old facility, rebuilt from a 5th century Byzantine monastery. Thick stone walls, ancient wooden doors, and underground wine cellars, now converted into dormitories. There were 38 children total, but the group I was brought to, only 7. All between 7 to 10 years old, kept isolated in a special room called the 8th room, even though the building officially only had 7. They had no complete biological records. No one knew where they'd come from. They arrived separately, over the years, brought either by local police or anonymous figures. They barely interacted with adults. But when I stepped in, they looked at me like they'd known me before. "You're here," a little girl said, eyes wide, unblinking. "Right on the 1st of the 0th, year of the blank." Blank? The year no one dares to remember. A boy named Nabil handed me a slip of paper, written on it 18/14/66. "What's this date?" "The day something was hidden." "What was hidden?" He shook his head. "I can't say. Not until that day comes again." For 5 days, I tried to frame this through psychology. Some kind of encoded speech, dissociative trauma coping. But on the 6th day, I examined a string of dates one girl had scribbled: 32 and 9, 14 and 1, 4, 0 and 0, 29 and 2, 18 and 1, 4 and 6, 6. I cross-referenced these numbers with an internal database of classified disappearances, files I accessed through a contact in the ministry, and what I found kept me awake for 3 nights straight. Each of those dates matched unsolved disappearances, never publicized, never investigated, but recorded as encrypted case codes for internal tracking only. I dug deeper. Every child had been dropped off by a man in a monk's robe. No name, no CCTV image. I asked about the gate camera. "I'm sorry," the caretaker said, but every single time, the footage glitched. Not once, but 7 times, on the exact dates the children had arrived. On the 8th night, I had a dream. In it, I stood before a council of children, all in white robes, mud-covered faces, eyes pure black. One said, We no longer speak in language. Because adults learn to twist words, now we speak in dates. Dates cannot lie. I asked, "What are you encoding?" A girl stepped closer, her face inches from mine. The secret you yourself once buried on the 18th of the 14th. You forgot, but that date didn't. I woke up in a cold sweat. 18 and 1/4, there's no such date. No 14th month. I checked my old journals, nothing. But then I looked up my most recent brain scan, and there it was. A strange node in my frontal lobe, right where suppressed trauma memories are usually stored. I called the National Records Institute, asked for any accidents near the anti-Lebanon mountains on the 18th of any month. Around the year I turned 12. There was one. A summer camp bus fell into a ravine. No survivors. One of the names listed, mine. But I don't remember it. No one in my family ever spoke of it. My name was erased from the records 3 days later. I returned to the 8th room. The children were sitting in a circle. On the floor was a ring of mud, hand-drawn. Inside it, a metal tag engraved with my name. Do you remember now? You were one of us. You used to speak in dates, but you stopped. Because the organization needed you outside. What organization? They all whispered. Katamat. The ones who keep memories from ever becoming speech. Because some truths mustn't be told, only written in tongue. I don't remember stepping into the circle. I only know that when I woke up, I was inside a stone chamber with no windows. In front of me stood a child. No eyes, no mouth, but speaking in my own voice. Now it's your turn. You will write what was erased. And when someone reads it, dates will speak truth instead of you. I backed away, but the cold stone blocked my escape. No exit, no light, only a faint yellow glow from something that looked like breathing parchment. The eyeless child tilted its head, as if reading me through my breath. It held out its hand, 10 twisted fingers, scarred with glyphs that looked like carvings, meant not for reading, but remembering through flesh. My hand trembled. I didn't want to touch it, but my fingers moved on their own. Not guided, not forced. Just remembering something my mind had buried. The first line appeared in pale, watery blood. 00. The day memory first betrayed mankind. And I understood. This was not writing. This was invocation. Each line I wrote, the air got heavier. The room shrunk. My heart no longer beat in my chest alone. Something else was pulsing inside me. I kept writing, and in my mind, a child's whisper said, "Write faster, before you remember who you are. Because once you do, you'll never get back." I looked down. My hands were now a child's. The script I wrote, dates that exist in no calendar. Across the stone wall, each one glowed faintly. Not in order, not in time, but like a language only the forgotten can read. The eyeless child smiled, without a mouth. One final whisper filled my skull. Each date you write is a gate, and someone will step through thinking they're just reading a story. But really, they're repeating the summoning. Editor's note from the final caretaker of Al-Qaraya, closed permanently in 2028. We found this manuscript sealed behind the wall of the 8th room. No signature, no timestamp, no author records, but every page was marked with impossible dates. And the last line read, "If a child ever asks you when you were born, don't answer. Because maybe that day hasn't happened yet, but it's waiting for you to name it into being."
Subscribe to Dark Whispers for more tales where time is measured not by clocks, but by buried memories. Children don't speak, they resurrect what adults forgot. And dates that don't exist still come knocking in your dreams. Because some truths aren't hidden, they're just waiting for you to say the date.